Have you ever wondered how men fall in love? Well, it's a fascinating mix of biology and psychology that we really need to understand. And even if you're in this early stages of a relationship, or if you are married and going through a really tough time right now, understanding these biochemical and psychological factors are so crucial to be able to create the shifts that you're looking for, or create the sort of incredible relationship that you really want to, that's going to allow you to stand the test of time. So in today's video, I'm going to explain to you how love develops in men, the role that chemicals such as dopamine and serotonin play in that development of love, and also how to navigate these relationship challenges with your understanding around biology and also psychology. Now let's start off with part one, which is about the process of falling in love. Now let's imagine that a man goes into a party and he meets someone and he feels that instant attraction. Well, the hormone dopamine is responsible for that. It's the feel-good neurotransmitter. And then that's going to create these initial feelings of excitement and pleasure and so on. Now from there is a deeper connection being developed. So they might go on dates, have a really good time, they're having some fun, loving experiences, and then that starts to really build that bond with that person. Now, from a biochemical perspective, we have the hormone oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is think of it as almost like the love drug that exists within us. Well, that oxytocin really helps to create that bond with that person. Now, that's also created as a result of physical touch and intimacy. Now, that doesn't have to be sexual in nature. It can just be things like holding hands or just putting your arm around the shoulder and so on. That's how oxytocin can really help to develop a stronger connection at that point. There's also the psychological aspect of it as well, because men in general love being around light energy. They love it when there's an element of just fun-loving playfulness with their partner, rather than all the serious stuff. Because you see, a lot of guys are always focused on solving problems and trying to fix things, and that sort of is how the days operate. And so when they're going out on dates, they don't want to have to deal with lots of problems and try and fix things all the time and so on. Sure, little snippets of that are okay, but if it's all the time, it becomes quite overbearing for them. And so just having this experience of that light-hearted energy can really help to elevate that connection with that person and further enhance the chances of that love being developed over time. Now, during this phase of deepening of that connection, there can often be a greater level of emotional intimacy, because what's happening is that two parties are getting to know each other. And that can also be influenced by attachment styles. So if you're dealing with a securely attached man, he's going to open up more, he's going to connect more, and that can further enhance that capacity to develop that love within that phase. Now part two is all about the role of serotonin. So now let's say these two individuals are now together, they're official, they might be living together and so on. Then there is naturally a deeper, stronger bond at that point. The relationship has grown, there's a deeper level of love and so on. Well then the role of serotonin is that it helps to regulate mood and emotional balance as well. It contributes to a greater sense of well-being, greater balance, emotional stability, reducing anxiety, and just an overall greater level of happiness within the relationship. Now yes, obviously there are lots of different scenarios in a relationship and there are lots of different challenges. And I'm really just talking about instances where people have quite a nice smooth transition from going on beautiful dates to then developing into a lovely relationship. And this is actually fairly common in relationships early on in the piece. The challenge is, and what we need to talk about in part three, is the problems that we often face and how the psychological and biochemical factors play a part in relationships deteriorating, and what you can do to actually start to resolve that. Now, a common problem in relationships for men is this feeling of jealousy and insecurity. Why that plays out is, let's say you're in a situation where you may have a male friend and you spend a bit of time with him and it's purely platonic, but it creates a lot of problems for him because he feels really jealous and insecure and so on. Now, for what happens from a biochemical perspective is that serotonin ends up being at a much lower level than a man would obviously want in that situation. Unfortunately, when that happens, is that his feelings of inadequacy and his fears and so on start to come through. And that results in him saying things that he shouldn't really be saying, acting in ways that go against who he really is when he's feeling secure, when he's feeling grounded and so on. Or let's say you guys have been having some communication challenges and you haven't been able to express yourselves in the way that you want to. There's a good chance that he's probably afraid to say the things that he wants to say because he's worried that if he says it, that you're going to lose the plot, or you're going to get really angry and frustrated or hurt, or you might start crying. Whatever the emotion is, it's generating that fear inside. So what happens is often men in that situation shut down. Now let's just assume on average in a heterosexual relationship, we have men who are the more masculine energy and women who are the more feminine energy. When those energies are expressed in their purest form, that's what creates that spark. That's what creates that beautiful attraction between the two individuals. Now, if there is this fear and all these communication issues and problems coming out, often what happens is a phenomenon called depolarization, where the masculine man starts stepping more into his feminine energy, and the feminine woman starts stepping more into her masculine energy and becoming more controlling and so on. And the man starts to shut down. Now that doesn't mean that masculine energy means control and feminine energy means shutting down. Absolutely not. But when someone's nature is then shifted and not aligning with who they really are, then they act in ways that go against who they really are. And so you'll often find in these situations, the men will shut down completely. What happens there for a man is that often the testosterone, which is a stress-reducing hormone, then gets converted into estrogen through an enzyme called aromatase. When that happens, a man just feels a fraction of himself. That's why men in situations love to compete, love to fix problems and so on, because it helps to elevate their testosterone levels and so on, which helps to reduce stress. Now, I totally understand it can sometimes be a little bit frustrating to have to hear these sort of things. But if you can understand this, if you can understand the dynamics that occur when problems exist, you can really play your part in being able to create the shifts that you're really looking for. Because the beautiful thing is, when he can step into his masculine energy in a very, very beautiful and confident way, where he still cares for you and loves you and protects you and all of that beautiful stuff, it's going to help you to relax into your feminine and be your best self. So that's why it's so important to address these problems. How do we do that? Well, we have to start firstly improving communication. Communication is so crucial in a relationship. We all know that, but it's how do you actually do that? How do you have the tough conversations? How do you go deeper into that? Well, one of the things that I really believe in any form of communication is a basic principle is applying curiosity and not judgment. You know, when we see our partner acting in a certain way, immediately we step into judgment. And I would actually encourage you to move away from that judgment and ask yourself, I want to learn about what my partner is going through right now. I'm not going to step into that judgment. I'm going to step into that curiosity. Because you might learn some things that you may not have learned. You may not have heard before. And maybe just say something along the lines of, look, hun, you know, I know we haven't been communicating in the best way possible of late, and I know it's been really, really difficult. And one thing I really want to do is I would love to just understand from you how you're doing. Forget the marriage for a second. How are you doing as a human being? How are you holding up with everything that's going on? Because I can tell that, you know, you're going through some challenging times. We're all going through some challenging times. But how are you doing? Because I really want to get to know you and understand what's going on inside of you, just to make sure that you're doing okay. Now, we might shut down initially, but if you can just make an effort from time to time to be able to ask questions about maybe his work and let that transition into potentially a slightly deeper conversation if you feel like he's ready for it in that moment. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe you want to talk about something that he's really interested in. Maybe there might be some sort of sports event or something that's going on. You just want to learn a little bit more about it. And then that can sort of open the doorway to going into some deeper topics at that point. You know, he might start talking about some challenges that he used to face when he was playing sports, or, you know, whether it's work stuff, whatever it may be. Allowing yourself to start going into a deeper level of dialogue is going to help. When he's able to just express some of those things and feel that release, feel that ability to be able to connect with you at a deeper level, then what's going to happen is it's going to shift him on a biochemical level as well. And it's going to allow him to then start creating a deeper bond with you over time. So communication is absolutely crucial. Now, the second way to address some of these challenges is to build emotional intimacy. And that doesn't have to be sexual in nature. It can just be spending time engaging in hobbies that both of you might be interested in, Or maybe something you'd want to learn together. It might be learning a new language together, or it might be, you want to start playing golf together, or whatever it is. There's so many things. The possibilities are endless on that front. Really good to do these sorts of things. And in addition to that, even just taking time before you go to bed, just lie down for half an hour next to each other, hold each other's hand, and just talk and connect. Talk about things that, are going on around the world, if that's something you're interested in. I would advise against having topics that are too sensitive and too divisive. It could just be watching something on a phone together. Sometimes me and my wife will lie there and watch funny videos together and just absolutely just crack up to the point where tears come out. And it's so enjoyable, it's so fun. We just have so much enjoyment together. So engaging in things like that, but spending that time every day or every other day, just lying next to each other and just connecting, just talking, just getting back to the roots of why you two love each other. It's so, so important. And that can also lead into potential conversations. If he's feeling challenged around jealousy and insecurity and so on, really begin to express those things. And if he says something that might trigger you a little bit, be curious and not judgmental. Learn that there is a human being there. There is an inner child inside of him that is probably hurting, that is probably going through a lot of pain right now. And that's not taking anything from you as well, because I know you'll be going through a lot of pain, and there'll be that inner child that is also hurting inside of you as well. But that's the thing, is we're never able to move forward unless we actually step into a place of understanding that person's world. And that goes both ways. And I think that because you're watching this video, I'm kind of putting the onus on you to take that approach, because I think when you do that, it firstly allows you to make shifts. So rather than coming from a me-centric approach, it's focusing on the other person and going, how can I love and how can I support this person, even if I am challenged by them? It fosters personal growth. And I honestly think what happens at that point is the other individual then starts going, wow, this woman is listening to me, she's sharing, she's understanding my world. And I think that develops a huge amount of respect in their eyes. And that can help to really improve the relationship over the long term as well. So I'd really encourage you, once again, to develop that communication and build that emotional intimacy. And from those foundations, you can really allow things to progress and grow and move through those tough times as well, because it's not easy, and I appreciate that. It's very, very challenging for you. So I hope all these principles make sense, and I truly believe if you can really grasp them at a deeper level, it can help to bring so much more joy and love and light to both of your lives. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you've liked it, make sure you hit that like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And do let me know what your biggest takeaway is. If you've got any comments, questions, whatever, I always love reading them, so make sure you respond below and I will reply to each and every one of you. And what I recommend you do, if you want to go a little bit deeper into understand the male psychology, then I'd recommend you check this video below where I talk through 4 feminine traits that men find wildly attractive. And if you learn those, they can play a really, really pivotal role in being able to further develop that bond between the two of you. Thank you so much. God bless, and I'll talk to you in the next video.